Yes. Goodness to you. It's Sporty King. And I'm getting on 5 minutes early, even though I had a late start today, or as I call it, a delayed start. Let's not use the word late, okay? Delayed because everything is in its proper time. So we've got less than 5 minutes, but I just want to tell you I'm back live. I took the month of July off, except for today. I restart my live broadcast, but I took this month to I call it retreat and refresh. And even today, you'll hear me talk about my high school reunion. So it's good to be back with you live. But I always like to come on. I try to come on 3 to 5 minutes earlier to give the technology a chance to build the audience, as well as in a time like this where I'm changing the starting time to give you a chance to say, "Oh my God, yeah, I want to hear Sporty's broadcast from the beginning to the end." So, but it gives you time to close stuff down. And this is my interactive day, so definitely everybody that comes on, I'm going to be saying hello and welcome back to them. So we've got less than 4 minutes for today's message, but let me know where you're viewing in from, even when you come on and watch the video, because we never know how we could connect with someone through what we thought was a non-connection. I've had someone who were two viewers. One was watching on LinkedIn and one was watching on Facebook. And because they responded and I clicked on their response and let it show across, because I'm on, oh, see, now you got me mumbling. Hey, I'm rusty. It's been a month. I'm broadcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously. So when you make a comment from Facebook, the people on YouTube and LinkedIn don't see it. That's why I'll click on it, and then it comes into my central broadcasting medium, which is StreamYard, and then everybody sees it. So I had someone on LinkedIn see me post a comment from someone on Facebook, and then they were, "Hey, old friend." And so I was able to get them back connected together. And it's happened to several people after that as well. So let's learn to use technology, older generation. Let's not give the young people so much credit. We say, oh, they don't even have to read instructions. Well, we're not giving them instructions. Slow down. We created the shortcuts. Don't forget that. So don't say, oh my God, look at them. They're always looking for shortcuts. They learned that what's the long cut for them was the shortcut we created. So let's not get upset that they're trying to make that even shorter. It's in our DNA. It's what we do. We've got less than 3 minutes for today's message. And I see I got 2 people viewing. So let me know where you're viewing in from. And we'll start today's message in the next 2 minutes. Okay. But yeah, just always think about the words you use and say to our younger generation. And they don't have to be your kids. The younger generation, let's go with 5 years apart. It's easily 7 to 10. But depending on how old you are and how someone else is, you could have just had a totally different experience, even if it's just a difference of 5 years. So you never know. Okay. So let me know where you're viewing them from. Hey, what's going on, Figgy? Coming in from the Midwest, Indiana. Yep, I knew it. I'm coming in from work. Good. So you can't hoop and holler. But thanks for coming in on, like I said, I got a little delayed start because I was whenever I'm putting together these presentations, the broadcast, the message comes to me not at the last minute, but at the right minute. And so it's just a matter of, me trying not to overcomplicate it. Oh, I want to do this. I want to make this slide. And that's actually what takes me. It's just going in that total presentation mode of wanting that. We got less than a minute for today's message. And I just get a big kick out of that. So I hope you enjoy it. I like to add different, show different technology. Maybe somebody needs to know that you can use this one, StreamYard, to broadcast across mediums according to which plan you buy determines how many mediums you can broadcast to simultaneously. So that's a good tip. I use my PowerPoint presentations. They don't have the transition slides when I'm doing a live broadcast. But if you look at my Monday sessions, you'll see the transitions because that's coming from a technology, one that I just learned called, time's up. I don't remember the name of that, but I'll mention it another time. But we've got less than a minute to go. We got seconds to go for today's message. So let's get ready to roll with that. And here it is time. Here we go. So welcome to Glue Wednesday. And I call it Glue Wednesday because so often we hear people say that Wednesday is hump day. And that comes from what I partially from old school rules where we used to just say, hey, you work Monday to Friday and the weekend. We didn't use the term flex time, but it's always been there because there's always been flex time. There's always been people who didn't work Monday to Friday. You think about public transportation, the hospitality industry, hotels and restaurants, so there's always been someone who may work Tuesday to Sunday. Not everybody worked Monday to Friday. So I just took the term hump day and just put a different twist on it. Though Wednesday may not be the middle of a traditional of a work day for someone, but it's the middle of a traditional 7-day week, which we all experience. And it's the day that keeps the week beginning and the week end together. So I call it the glue. And that's why I created Glue Wednesday. And then GLUE, God's love undoes everything. Not that God's love will tear things apart, but that which has been torn apart, God's love will bring it back together. We'll glue it back together. And then giving us the need to not hump to get through, but to find ways to keep it together. We all need that, regardless, again, of when you work. So that's how I created Glue Wednesday. Now, some of you may know that I just got back from my high school reunion. We were a group of less than 50 of us, but all 60-plus-year-old individuals, adding to our celebration the honoring of one of the most impactful Jesuit priests during our years in school, and even up to the present, Father Keegan. And that was at the high school I went to called Cranwell High School, which I'll show you a picture in a second. But even as we honored him, we knew he was also a representative for the many educators that brushed our wings over 50 years ago during our individual stays at Cranwell School. There were 5 different classes represented at this reunion. So in today's Glue, I continue to honor the educators, the school, and add my fellow alumni in thanks for the experiences using the scripture, my guiding scripture, which is, "Stay here with the donkey," Abraham told the young men. "The boy and I will travel a little farther. We'll worship there, and then we'll come right back." Genesis 22:5. And my message for you today is trust. But first, again, here's the slide I thought I was going to be reading, but this is a picture of my high school. Yep, up on the hill. It looks like a castle. I went to a Jesuit, all-boys Jesuit prep school in Lenox, Massachusetts, through a scholarship program, by the way, which is still alive. It's called ABC. It stands for A Better Chance. And it sends children to private high schools, not necessarily boarding schools. Depends on where they live. Sometimes they're day schools. But in my case, I got the chance to travel and go away to school. So different strokes with different folks. I highly recommend it. If you and your children can start applying, by the way, in probably because middle school ends at 8th. So yeah, you're applying, by 8th grade, because there's a chance that they'll get to go to high school from 9th. But I actually went from 10th grade, from sophomore year. So my application went in during the 9th grade. So check with the program at abc.org and find out if you have high school rising children, or if you have relatives or someone that may want to try to get a private school education. Wonderful program. In fact, I'm going to put the link in there when this is all over. Okay, but let me keep on rolling. All right. So my message today is trust. Oops. Now my slides are all off. Trust, TRUST. And I'm going to break it down into an acronym, not one of my affirmations, but an acronym, and enjoy sharing a message from each letter. And I'll start with the last T, and the final T, and that is time. Time. Trust can be an instant connection, yet its value increases with each moment of conscious non-betrayal. You see, the longer you know someone, the more you appreciate what they've done to bless your life. And I'm including the fact that you may not have known a move that they made years ago that has put you in a position to bless someone else. You see, wisdom is in retrospect. So over time, You will even add to and grow in your trust of another person. The final T in trust is for time. Then we have what I call the identical twins: responsibility and reliability. The time you spend believing in someone else is a choice that you make, and it comes along with an expectation that they will live up to your choice. Yet ultimately, they are not responsible for living up to your expectations. And only you are responsible for making that choice. You see the responsibility, but here's where the reliability comes in: your excitement when they come through again and again. So, yeah, only you are responsible for how you believe in someone and the expectations you have of them. But then, then you will get to enjoy the excitement of them being reliable in terms of living up to your expectations and your beliefs. So, those are the identical twins. You can have identical twins, but what about fraternal twins? Our fraternal twins are selfishness and security. Now, how we receive selfish is in the tone that it's delivered. For instance, there's selfish, which is lacking consideration for others. And then there's selfish, taking care of yourself in consideration of others. And that's not a Webster's dictionary definition. But that first definition chips away from and destroys trust. Selfish. Lacking considerations for others. Whereas the second, selfish, taking care of yourself in consideration for others, is an inspirational pronunciation that takes away that internal guilt feeling of not being willing to share. Sometimes we say, oh, well, I don't want to be so selfish and not share. No, understand that when you're selfish, what you're doing is wanting to have a position of strength from which to share. So again, it's how we pronounce selfish or selfish. And so when we go in this with the selfish pronunciation, that's where the security comes in, where we feel good enough about ourselves to want to share and have something wholeheartedly worthy of sharing because we think that the person who was sharing it is worth it. And what's going on, Roger Carroll? Just got here. Yep. You know what? You didn't get much longer afterwards. I had a late start, so that was great. A delayed start. So yeah, I got to brush off the rust from not doing the broadcast for a month. I'm not even going to use that for an alibi. I've had delayed broadcasts before. It's all according to what God is putting into my life and my brain and my fingers and my and my slides. But Roger Carroll, we are on trust and we're breaking it down. We did the first T, which was time. And then we did I call them the fraternal, and then we did the identical twins. Okay, no, we did the last T. So you got to watch the video because most people are watching the video anyway, and you're right up there with us. So don't worry about it. You're good. But we just finished talking about what I call the fraternal twins: selfishness and security. So now that takes us to that first T, which is time. Which is testimony. So actually, I got the wrong thing there. That should be testimony because the last T was time. The first T is testimony. And the military has a term called bluff, BLUF. That's bottom line up front. So I'm going to offer a double bluff with testimony because I spell testimony where the first four letters are capitalized, TEST, because there's a test in the testimony. So bottom line up front is testimony. In order to achieve your goal of getting the testimony, you have to work back to understanding what you will, thus what you are willing to go through. And in that working, you can't get the testimony without the test. See, so a lot of times our testimony, with wisdom being in retrospect, our testimony is something that we have to be willing to go through and we don't even know what it is. And then after we go through it, we can now go backwards and say, this is what I went through to get this testimony. Remember, it's similar to how, when Jesus said to John and James in Matthew 20 and 12, he said, you don't know what you're asking. This is when they ask to be at his left and right hand. You don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I'm about to drink from? Oh, yes, they reply, we are. But that's a reminder that trusting in God is not without hardship and so worth the bumps and bruises. So to get the testimony, you've got to go through the test. And don't decide you want to ride with Jesus till you really think about how much you want to ride with him. Okay, it's the difference between knowing that one day we may die and his knowing which day he was going to die and how, and then on and on and on. And you just gave me an idea. That's what we want to use religion for, is to discuss it. It's not always point blank, this is how it is. Use it as a discussion point and allow yourself to listen to someone else's viewpoint, which is not just religious, that's just human communication. What we need to start doing more is taking the time to listen to one another. Understand that if someone is gung ho on who they are, you may not change their mind. Likewise, they might not change yours. But won't you at least listen to what they're saying? A lot of times, if we, like for instance, if I know how much I believe in something and I won't bend, I might not even understand how somebody else doesn't believe in what I believe in. But then when I hear why, I say, well, you know what? I can see why they believe in that. But and that's why they won't bend to believe the way I believe, because I wouldn't bend to believe the way they believe. So just take your time and listen to other people, but make good decisions. We make a lot of good decisions, and I'm going to get back on script here because actually I'm through with the word trust. I'm going to close by explaining why I chose today's guiding scripture, which was Genesis 22:5. See, selfishly, I chose it because uh, stay here with the donkey. Abraham told the young man, the boy and I will travel a little further. We will worship there and then we'll come right back. See, this is the scripture that I use while praying for my mother's healing during her life's final bout with liver cancer. And every next day of her life, I thanked and prayed it a little harder because, see, I always expected her to pop through and say, yep, I'm going to pray and then I'm going to come right back. See what Abraham was saying? We will worship there and then we will come right back. That was how Abraham felt about what he was about to go through. And here's what I want to add. The second reason is that now it is now a part of my daily morning meditation, where I've picked an annual scripture since 2014 to add to my list of reading every morning before I enter the world. I read my annual scriptures. And this particular scripture comes with a touch point. Now, a touch point, for those of you who understand or know, I use one Bible I've read is called the Touch Point Living Bible. What it has is modern day analogies that add to scripture to make them more understanding. It's kind of like a concordance. It's not like, and it's not on every bit of scripture throughout the Bible. Just occasionally they'll have a topic for that they're using that scripture for in the concordance. And Genesis 22:5 did have a topic. It was called testing. Testing. So again, think about what it says. Stay here with the donkey, Abraham told the young man. The boy and I will travel a little farther. We will worship there, and then we will come right back. Many of us know, P.S., by the way, the story of that was when Abraham was taking his son Isaac, and he laid him on the straw to sacrifice him, and then there was a ram in the bush. Okay, so who can fathom testing? Who can fathom being asked to sacrifice one's own child? How can such a thing be required by a compassionate God of love? Through Abraham, God wanted to create a people of obedience and faith. Abraham, as the leader of this people, needed to know he could trust God absolutely, even when obedience threatened to exact an unspeakable cost. God's purpose was not to take Isaac from Abraham, but to test and strengthen Abraham's faith. Abraham learned that day that God can be trusted. Have you learned to trust God with your life, your treasures, your future, and your obedience? Testing. That's Genesis 22 and 5. And it makes me realize I want to go back and just wrap up a little bit more about trusting. And that is to put all the letters in trust together. Okay. Okay. Because that's what I skipped doing. And that is to remind you that the letter U is actually the final letter because it is positioned in the middle of the word trust, sort of like glue. And it's the word that trust must be centered around you. And so we put them all together. You have to trust yourself, or you'll never be able to trust anyone else. If you don't believe yourself worthy of the blessing, you may choose to bypass the opportunity and believe you're in this mixed up world all alone, and that you have to navigate without the wonderful friendships and resources that strengthen your spirit of selflessness, that lands you in the space and mindset of pace and patience that results in the celebration of seeing God's plan for you. And that's really what I was meant to read before reading about testing and the touch point. So I'm a little rusty, but the message itself is succinct and worthy of you absorbing. So trust, get your testimony, but know up front that there will be a test. You have to be responsible for the expectations you have. And then know that the people who you trust reliably, they'll come through. You are the key. Selflessness instead of selfishness, but selfish, taking care of yourself with a secure spirit of knowing that you're doing the right thing and that you're not keeping anybody out. You're keeping them attached to a full product of something worthy of spending their time with. And that's why time is one of the keys in trust. How much time will you spend with someone? Because the more time you spend with them, the deeper your trust will go with them. And sometimes that deepness is because, wow, they haven't betrayed me in all this time. That should be worth something. Okay. And I'm Sporty King, reminding you that we don't have to get over, we don't have to hump. What we have to do is find ways to keep it together. We do that every Wednesday here on Glue Wednesday, where I'll be back to my live broadcast starting next week in August again. And I'll have some of that rust off, and that rust could be in trust. All right. Hey, Roger Carroll, thanks. What you got there? Uh, what I just heard is what God meant for me to get to uplift my crazy day. Yeah. Thank you. See, even on a short one, right? Yeah. And you, in fact, you know what? There's a, speaking of crazy, scroll down my page. There's something called a Happy Crazy Day, definitely dedicated to women. It was a video that I had shared from a post, I believe, that I got off of Instagram. And I think that you really enjoy that, Roger Carroll, and connect that to your word for crazy day. But all of us need to have a scroll down on the page and find that video. And I think it says, have a happy, crazy day. We all need to make sure that we're doing that. I got some new surroundings too, by the way. I rearranged, my brother helped me rearrange my desk and my office. So I'm still working on that. Excuse me, but I already like how the lighting is placed and it's coming out right. See, so that's what another thing. I like to give tech tips. We are in a world of technology, and sooner or later, you're going to be, whether it's on a Zoom call or whether you're giving a presentation, you want to know how to use your technology to your best advantage. So thanks, Roger Carroll. And anybody, if you're watching the video, put your comments in there. I'll be happy to comment and respond to those as well. Got anything else, Roger Carroll? Just been me and you today. I'll drink to that. Well, Figgy was on early, my good buddy from Indiana, but he was at work, so he couldn't stay. And it shows that there's somebody else is on. Please let me know where you're watching in from, because we're getting ready to close out. And it was a nice short message today, and I trust that it was a worthy message. But a message from God is always worthy. All right. It's always about how we use it. So I like to give anybody a last minute to make a comment. And then, oh, hey, Nina, my sister coming in from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Hey, yeah. Oh, how's Rita doing? She sent me a text the other day while I was out hanging out with my brother and my nephews while I was still down south. I just got back into Charlotte yesterday. So I'm getting everything all caught up and recalibrated today. So welcome back to you as well, Nina. See, I got two of my good sisters there. Met them both in Chicago, and now neither of them are living in Chicago, and neither am I. So that's trust. All of us trusted in the Lord to move to another place. And Rita is good. Glad to hear it. Tell her I said hi and hugs. All right. And you keep doing great things down there. So I'm going to give it a 10-second countdown. If anybody else wants to make a comment. And Roger Cal, what's going on in your day? Is something you want to throw in there? Or a part that maybe your comment will help someone see that they're having a crazy day and how they might want to use it to take some of that pain out of theirs. I just thought of that, so I'm not trying to prolong. It's just that might be a good thing to do. Might even be a good thing to do even after I hang up. So even if you're watching the video, always add whatever you can add. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give it a 10-second countdown. There we go. Roger Carroll, thank you. Property sales and locating documents. Oh, that's right, because you're getting ready to get resettled, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, yeah, and see, so that in that case, Roger Carroll, what I say, when you got all of these things going on and it's a crazy day, that's a gift. Okay, some people who have nothing going on don't have a lot of confusion. They don't have a lot of moving parts. That's not knocking them, but the more you've got going on, the more moving parts you have, and the more moving parts you have, the closer you are to God. And so, therefore, Satan has to step up his demons on trying to throw you off and make you surrender and give up. And that's when you come to Glue Wednesday and you get a little reshot and a recharge, and then you get back out there and win the battle. Because like they say, the battle is not yours; it belongs to the Lord. But just to remember that sometimes you're the Lord's greatest weapon, and so you have to make sure that you are, handling the fight, because you definitely are in position to be in the fight. And I had 3 hours of volunteer work this morning. Yeah, see, you got something going on. Thank you for volunteering. See, that's I haven't I got to get back to my volunteer work, but hey, y'all, that a lot of people they say they retire and then they don't have anything to do. Retire and then volunteer somewhere. Don't feel like, oh, well, they don't want me, an old person. School kids love it. You're going to find somebody in that school that would really gravitate to having an older person to say something, to watch out for them. And then you, of course, pick the school. You're volunteering. You don't have to go along with the rule. If it's not the right school for you, don't stay. But I think that you want to look at a school that allow you to help them improve their disciplinary actions for the kids. It makes the kids safer in terms of going from class to class, or whether it's an after school program, or how you show them how to eat their food or stand in line. Hey, there's a lot of different options. And I know Roger Carroll also volunteers with the museum here in Charlotte. So, it doesn't have to be with a school. Find something to do. Do something with your time. As my aerobics instructor, Patty Andrews, always says, keep it moving. All right. So anyway, I'm going to do this final countdown. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and good old number 1. Thanks again for joining me on Glue Wednesday. God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.